guys, I am back with a DIY project. So this is my kitchen, and I decided I needed to paint the cabinets because they have this like cream color, which I was not a fan of. So I went and bought this all-in-one paint that I found on my Facebook timeline that you're not supposed to have to sand or anything like that. It has prep, cleaning, you just paint. Thought it would be easy. I bought it in the color cashmere, which is the white at the very, very top. Because I just wanted a brighter white than what I had. Um, so it was originally supposed to be like $150. I had a coupon, so I ended up getting it for like $80. Worked out. So you see these brown spots. That's what I was trying to get rid of. It's like wood knots that they thought was cool from the 1990s. So that was my goal, is to get rid of those. So I started painting. So this is me prepping. I went ahead and like put some the box came with a lot of paper, so I didn't really need drop cloths for the floor. So I decided, let me clean off the countertops first, get these pieces of paper. I started taping them down to the floor so I just wouldn't get any paint splash on my wood floors. Then I was like, oh yeah, I have knobs. So I went through, decided that I had to remove all these knobs. I started at the top, which is cut off so you can't really see it. Luckily I have a I guess it's a chargeable screwdriver, electric screwdriver, so it's not hard to get rid of these knobs. So I went through all of these. Now keep in mind, this is just one side of my kitchen. The other side is another set of cabinets and drawers. But I started here with the camera, removing all of these. I put them in these mixing bowls that I had, and I separated it. I did the cabinet pulls in one bowl because they have longer screws, and the shorter screws in another bowl. Now keep in mind, I just installed these screws. I had removed what was originally there because they were old school, and I thought that would help, but it just needed to be painted. The knobs did not make a difference. So here I am trying to figure out how to make this kit work. This is the cleaner, the surface prep. So apparently this is supposed to take off any grease, any dirt. So this is eliminating the need to sand. So I'm like, okay, how do I make this work? What do I do? I had to read the directions. So I went and got a sponge, which you said to do, and you're supposed to thoroughly wet the cabinets, all of them. But in 30 to 60 seconds, you then scrub to get the gook off. So I was making a mess. Maybe paper wasn't the solution here because it was getting soaking through the paper. And I was worried that it would take the gloss or the polyurethane off of my floor. So I put some paper towel underneath the paper to soak up anything that, may have gotten on my grounds. The floor, I'm sorry. So yes, I'm scrubbing. I didn't really see a huge difference until it dried. So while I'm doing this, I'm like, oh, okay, still looks like, my cabinets. But then I saw the brown water. I'm like, oh, this dirt. You don't know, because it's white, so you don't really expect, if you don't see it, you don't think it's there, but it's there. So yeah, I had to, after you scrub it, you're supposed to wipe it off with a rag or a towel, which is what I was doing. And now I'm doing the other side. So, I'm sorry, the top. So that was me doing the bottom. Now I'm doing the top. I didn't worry about the insides of the cabins. I did wipe them down, but when it comes to painting, I didn't too much care about the inside because once again, it's also white. It's just a darker or off-white or cream. So it wasn't that I was trying to change the color, which I kind of was, but I was trying to brighten the cabinets versus changing the color. And I don't even think the builder, all right, didn't expect that. I don't even think the builder knew painted the inside. So this is the actual color. It's called cashmere. I got 2 quarts in the bundle, but I ended up actually only using 1 quart. So I'm going to use the second quart on probably a vanity that I have in my bathroom, which you'll see in a later video. But, I did the good girl thing. I went ahead and taped off my appliances so I wouldn't get paint on the side of them when I went crazy. But I did not do the hinges. Now, looking back, probably still wouldn't have done the hinges because that's like the piece that I would have to tape would be missing. I wouldn't get the paint on it, right? I can't like tape the hinge itself. And this is one of the kids, I think it's Chase, yes, standing in front of the camera. How thoughtful of him. But yeah, I went through, you see in front of me, I don't know if you can see that there's like a brown, I'm wiping it now, but there was a brown circle on the wood there. So there was a couple places where those wood circles, brown circles were. And I think they did that for like design or effect back in the 90s, but it wasn't cute and I didn't like it. So that was the reason that prompts me to do this. And I didn't want another color. I just wanted the bright white. Um, you're going to see him walking back and forth because he wanted to make a milkshake. In the midst of me redoing our kitchen, the boy decides that he's going to make a milkshake. So that's why he's, excuse my booty. Didn't know it was all in the camera like that. My bad. But yes, this is the lower half next to my dishwasher and between my stove. It's like a crevice right there. And this is what it looks like after I painted it. And you see those brown spots. That's what I'm trying to get rid of. That was the problem. So this other side, you know, the video that I watched on this type of paint said, this is called a brush and roll technique. So essentially you brush a whole bunch of paint on, like a thick coat of paint, and then you roll it with a foam roller. And that's supposed to smooth it out. And honestly, I don't know if I needed the brush part. I probably could have just did the whole thing with the foam roller, but I think the brush was mainly the carrier of the paint, is to make sure you got enough paint on the cabinet. Because you see how small this foam roller is? It's really just to smooth it out so there's no streaks and lines. And then as I went, you know, I definitely got paint on hinges, but I had a rag with me. And as I went, I wiped off the hinge, make sure that, you know, it wasn't like obvious. So I went around and got all the edges of the doors, of the drawers. This is the next day. This was a 2-day process. Technically 3 days, but I only did work for 2 days. One day I just didn't do anything with it. And yeah, you probably see me dancing because I have music on as I'm painting. But yeah, this is me wiping off hinges because I got some paint on them, which I probably had to do for every hinge. I'm sure there's some spots around the hinges that needed to be redone, but I didn't want to get too much paint on the hinges. And once again, it's white on white. So it's not like I was painting white over brown color where it was obvious if I missed a spot. Thankfully, it wasn't. So yeah, making sure I got all these little sides and not just the doors, what would these be called? The box, the actual cabinet, not just the door. Wiping some hinges here. And then I also did the sides of the cabinet, which are in my hallway and in the side to get out of my house where my garage is, so they're pretty obvious. So I made sure I got those sides done. Honestly, I painted everything except the inside of the cabinet. The front facade, I moved around my drop cloth so I don't get paint on the floor. You see I did my taping there. I did good. And you see the difference with the paint color because you can see me putting it on. It's not like it's a different color. It's just not, they're both white. And who knew they had so many shades of white? And then as I went, I realized like the builders did a kind of shabby job. It's not something you would notice unless you're up on it. But then you saw the streaks and like the air bubbles and all that stuff when they painted it. And I'm sure they did like a spray because, you know, they're moving quick. They weren't putting as much effort as I did. So now this is my other side of the kitchen. So I did one side and here's the other side. A whole new set of drawers and cabinets. And for each side, I did 2 coats. So the bottom I did in one day, the bottom level. And then the second, which I'm doing now, is I did in another day. So my back couldn't do everything at once. So I did one level one day, or 2 coats on one level, and 2 coats on the top level today, or yesterday actually. The hardest part, honestly, was the fridge. And right here where I'm painting, because I didn't want to get it on the wall, and I was too lazy to put some tape up. So those are probably the 2 hardest parts. You see I had to wipe off some paint. But yeah, above the fridge, there's these 2 random little doors that I honestly don't put anything in because how will I ever get to it? I have to get on a step stool and do a real stretch to get into those 2 cabinets. But I still wanted to paint them just so I mean, you can still see them. They're being blocked right now by Raisin Bran and Honey Nut Cheerios, but they're still there. So I still wanted to paint them. I didn't want to leave anything out. So that probably was the hardest part just because I couldn't really get to them. So I think I only ended up putting like no, I probably did 2 coats, but I didn't like put too much effort into it, to be perfectly honest with you. So here's my second door. I went around the edges to make sure those are covered, but you see the inside is like a cream color, which is also different from what the outside is. So the builders didn't even like get to that color. They didn't get to the inside. I don't know where that side came from. Honestly, I don't. But that's a different color than the outside is before I even painted it. Now, I thought about doing the backsplash, which is like I think it's called wainscoting. I don't know if you can see it in this, but it's like wood lines, like wood paneling kind of. But it's not like the old school ugly wood paneling. It's like, it's paneling. I don't know if I'll get a better view of it, but I thought about painting that, and I wanted to paint it this. At first, I thought I was going to do everything the same color, but I'm like, well, if I'm going to paint it, maybe I should make it a different color so it could stand out. And I did one of those apps where you can like tell it what color you'd paint it, and it'll show you a visualization. And honestly, I just didn't like it. So I left it be. I didn't paint it at all. So it still has a contrast to this bright white. It's going to be the cream color. And also, I didn't want to, I mean, it's something that's probably going to get dirtier than the cabinets because it's the backsplash right behind the stove, right behind the coffee maker. So I left that alone. Maybe in the future I'll paint it, but as of now, it's staying. So all in all, I did like this paint, the all-in-one paint. I believe it made the job easier than if I were to buy just like regular cabinet paint because there was no sanding involved. It was just like you clean it, you paint it. I wish it wasn't 2 coats, but here it is. This is the final picture. You see how bright the paint is. I love it. I put the knobs back on and I put them on vertically versus horizontally like they were before. And I think it came out great. There's still some spotty spots, but nothing like you have to look real hard to see it. Well, that's it. It's final look. Like, subscribe, let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.